Tonight's second comic is Boom! Studios 7 Secrets, written by Tom Taylor, he, him, illustrated by Daniele di Nicuolo, he, him, colored by Walter Baiamonte, he, him, with color assistance by Katja Rinaldi and Joan Maldez O'Day, and lettered by Eisner-nominated Ed Dukeshire. The writer Tom Taylor, at this point you know who he is. We've covered him in previous Edo Comic Casts and comic clubs, including Suicide Squad Bad Blood, the 2023 DCeased Titans, and Superman Son of Kal-El Volume 1 The Truth, and we'll be covering two more of his books later this year, Superman Son of Kal-El Volume 2 The Rising, and Nightwing Leaping into the Light, which myself and Costa will be covering in May and June 2025. The last thing I'll mention is that Taylor's Nightwing run has now concluded, and Tom Taylor has taken over writing duties of the long-running Batman Detective Comics book, which is worth checking out with another very strong start to a run. We love Tom Taylor around here, and wanting to give another Aussie a bit of airtime was why we are covering two books tonight. Because of covering double the number of normal creatives, it's why I put this one at the beginning of the year and swapping with the 10-issue Tim Drake Robin series, which we'll cover now in September 2025. It also helps balance what will be quite a few consecutive months of big two books for Comic Club before we cover another indie in August. Comics that Tom Taylor was reading while working on the first volume of 7 Secrets included Tom King's Up in the Sky, Boom's Once and Future, James Tinian's Wind, Marie Tamaki's Wonder Woman, and in general just a lot of DC because Tom works for DC a lot. The artist of this book, Daniele di Nicuolo, along with Kelly Thompson, are the co-creators of Jeff the Landshark, as seen in Marvel Infinity Comics' It's Jeff, and in the online multiplayer game, Marvel Rivals. Born and raised in Milano, Daniele di Nicuolo debuted in the US comics market with Mirror's Edge at Dark Horse before starting his multi-year collaboration with Boom Studios on their Power Rangers line, including Power Rangers Pink, the 25th anniversary event Shattered Grid, and its follow-up Necessary Evil. Daniele di Nicuolo has done backup, story art in several issues of Tom Taylor's Nightwing run, and Tom Taylor's Titans issue 13, provided art for the Speed Force miniseries featuring Wally West and Avery Ho, former Teen Titans, Justice Leaguers, and current members of the Flash family, and di Nicuolo provided artwork for Tom Taylor's Superman Son of Kal-El issue 4, which we covered in last year's John Kent Comic Club. Danielle's day will consist of early morning gymming, then going to a separate studio outside his house, sitting down and doing a series of 30-second sketches to warm up before moving into inking or penciling work depending on the day. Comics that Daniele di Nicuolo was reading while working on the first volume of 7 Secrets included Boom's Once and Future, Boom's Something is Killing the Children, Boom's Wind, the Frank Miller Batman, and he generally reads a lot of manga including One Punch Man, Fire Punch, and 7 Deadly Sins. Generally, di Nicuolo reads a lot of manga and indie stuff, but has started reading more Marvel and DC for work, including Tom Taylor's Suicide Squad. Walter Baiamonte is a comic book colorist best known for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. He's also worked on Chaos, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Hellchild, The Unholy, and The Backstages, most of which are Boom comic properties. Boom Studios is an American comic book and graphic novel publisher. They are headquartered in Los Angeles, California. The company has been a subsidiary of the Random House division of Penguin Random House since September 2024. Boom was co-founded in 2005 by Ross Ritchie and Andrew Cosby. Andrew Cosby is particularly interesting as the main screenwriter of the awful 2019 Hellboy movie, but balances it out by being co-creator of one of the best sci-fi shows ever made, Eureka, about a federal agent tracking his runaway daughter, stumbling upon a secret town of scientists and geniuses working for the military. He ends up being strong-armed into being the new sheriff of the town called Eureka, as he has seen too much, becoming the everyman tasked with policing a town of people all smarter than he is while raising his teenage daughter. Anyway, back to Boom Comics. This is the second series published by Boom that we're covering, the first having been Giant Days by John Allison and Max Sarin last year. Boom has managed licenses from The Expanse to Power Rangers and has worked with everyone from Keanu Reeves to the Jim Henson Company to R.L. Stine. Issue 1 Recap. 7 Secrets Issue 1 tells the story of 7 ancient weapons guarded by a secret society known as the Order of the Seven. The 7th secret was guarded by Sigurd, the keeper of the 7th secret, and Eva, the holder of the 7th case, who serve as the focus for the first issue. In the Order, the duty of protecting the secrets is the priority above all other things, even intimate relationships, and yet the connection between keeper and holder could be sometimes something more. The issue itself is set over 3 distinct timelines: a future bloodied event outside of a mountain-bound temple, which we'll see revealed in issue 6, 3 months prior, an attack at the Order of the Seven's London subterranean base, and 15 years earlier with the trial of Eva and Sigurd. The later periods take up the majority of the issue. Taylor has set a very distinct tone to start up the series. You can clearly tell that while there is somewhat of a frantic pace to the action, that the overarching plot is methodically playing out. Our narrator appears to be a young man named Casper, a product of forbidden love between 2 protectors of the Seven Secrets, Sigurd and Eva, though we never see Casper himself in the issue outside of the narration boxes, ending instead on Sigurd's death at the hands of a villain called Amon. Taylor sets up very distinct markers for where the plot is headed, while also giving you no true detail on what this is all about. We know there are 7 secrets, and there is a nefarious force out to possess them, and we know that Casper was raised to be a future secret keeper. Outside of this, everything else is a mystery. Tom Taylor mentioned in an AIPT interview that a character's voice is the most important aspect of a comic to get right, and their relationship to other characters. So that was especially important with Sigurd and Eva's dynamic, that it was important to understand that what they had given up for their jobs. 7 Secrets Issue 2 Recap. The second issue plays a bit of catch-up, showing us Casper's journey up until the moment he learns the bad news of Sigurd's death. Taylor and Nicuolo have created an interesting plot device, shifting time around and our expectations. To make the narrative that much more interesting, the cliffhanger is a juicy one, revealing our narrator, Casper, will not make it to the end of the story. The issue also does well to show us a little more about what the Order is all about and who some of the other holders and keepers are. So far we know it's a secret organization, but how they train and act within their walls is revealed. The character of Casper remains a mystery in a lot of ways, though. The narration helps, of course, but so much time passes in between some scenes it's hard to gather who Casper really is deep down. We understand the confusion of not having any real parents and then discovering who they are later in life, but what does that mean beyond confusion and frustration? The issue mostly focuses on training, so we don't get to see who Casper is and must guess at that based on who his parents are. The emotional crux of the issues rests on the brief interaction between Casper and his biological father Sigurd, and the heartbreaking ask of, "I can't be your son, can I?" To which Sigurd replies, "It's not possible. While Casper is more important, the secret was just first." Using the metaphor of a bird, Casper asks if Sigurd wants to fly away, which Sigurd mirrors Casper's earlier comment that anybody saying they don't want to fly is lying. Casper bestows Sigurd with Casper's yellow bird figurine, saying he needs it more, and Sigurd cherishes it, holding it in his palm in his final dying moment. 7 Secrets Issue 3 Recap. As Amon leaves the beheaded corpse of Sigurd at Buckingham Palace, Eva arrives in Venice, is promoted from holder of the case to keeper, and trials are held for a new holder 2 days later. At the aftermath for Sigurd's funeral service, Eva privately shows Casper the gift Sigurd had never been allowed to give Casper, one for each birthday, including the jacket off his back that Casper had offhandedly mentioned finding cool once. Fun fact, other gifts include some comics, including The Deep, a Tom Taylor graphic novel adapted into a hit kids TV show, and another graphic novel, the first volume of We Only Find Them When They're Dead, another Boom publication by Al Ewing and Simone DeMeo. Before leaving, Casper is sworn to secrecy and told by Eva what Sigurd never had a chance to say, the deadliest secret that could get one or both hurt, if not killed, that Eva loves Casper with her whole heart. The trials commence, ending when only one of the 4 participants is holding their practice briefcase. The first trial comprises of sleep deprivation and starvation, then extreme cold wilderness to bond them together, then came torture to test their loyalty. Casper breaks the parameters of testing and wins, being the last to still hold onto their case. The issue ends with an explosion in Venice, and Amon with his forces descend upon the Order of the Seven's Venice base. Daniele mentions in regards to his art style he likes fight scenes to be more than punching and kicking things. He likes characters interacting with their environment, picking up and throwing objects, bouncing off of walls, etc. Daniele is a big fan of action movies, and so has movies like Kingsman and Indiana Jones that feed into how he is inspired to draw action. Issue 4 Recap of 7 Secrets. This is an action-filled issue filled with meaty moments and grisly twists. Casper has completed his training, But now the real test begins as the Order is under attack by the Seekers, desperate to take control of the Seven Secrets and reshape the world in their image. Amon, leading the Seekers, knocks unconscious Kanto and Casper's former bully-turned-ally, the recruit Titus. Amon is revealed to be the son of Tajana, who leads the Order of the Seven and former keeper of the First Secret. This happens as Tajana takes through the hand what would have been a fatal shot to the head for Amon from a crossbow. The Seekers hit 6 locations where the briefcases are known to be simultaneously. These include Fiji, Tanzania, Ireland, and Japan. Most interesting of the locations to me was the Svalbard Global Seed Vault in Norway. The Svalbard Global Seed Vault is a real-world secure backup facility for the world's crop diversity on a remote Norwegian island. The Seed Vault provides long-term storage for duplicates of seeds from around the world, conserved in gene banks, preserving the genetic information of organisms. This helps secure the world's food supply against the loss of seeds due to mismanagement, accident, equipment failures, funding cuts, war, sabotage, disease, and natural disasters. Amon reveals he doesn't want to possess the secrets, just destroy them, and the Order, which he compares to a cult. The Order of the Seven, in turn, reveal they knew the Seekers were coming and laid 6 timed ambushes across the globe. According to our narrator, those counter ambushes, while appearing a success, pulled the trigger on the Order of the Seven's eventual defeat. While many of the Seekers are eliminated, they are deemed acceptable losses as Amon and some of the Seekers' better operatives escape. Trivia: you'll notice that the creative team make the intentional choice that the sworn-in holders and keepers do not use guns. This is partially to signify they're the good guys, Tom Taylor being an Aussie mentioned in Australia that we don't really do guns and that reflects in his work, but also using a gun is the easy way to fight, and to show the Order's proficiency at fighting they don't have to lean on the crutch of weaponry as crude as guns. By the end of issue 4, the only hero shown using a gun thus far as I can recall, is Titus, who is not a sworn-in member of the Order. Seven Secrets Issue 5. Recap. The Order is forced to fall back to a mountain fortress in Switzerland to protect the secrets. This includes the congregation of all the keepers and holders, in addition to Mia and a number of other guards on horseback who have guarded the fortress for 10 generations. But despite their best efforts, a traitor betrays their intent. The Seekers advance on the mountain fortress. I noticed that Ching's changed from being the keeper of the second secret in issue 2 to the keeper of the fifth secret in issue 5. I didn't quite catch personally whether Ching swapping cases was part of the narrative and I missed it, or if it was just a typo in the earlier issue potentially. Amon is chained up by another seeker, Verity, who wants the glory of taking out the Order for herself. And as a bit of trivia, Tom's sweet spot when working with Danielle is to write on average 5 panels per page. Comic page. 3 or 4 for action scenes, up to 7 if it's a talking heads dialogue scene, and sometimes it's about letting the artists do their thing and breathe with a double page spread. Tom only had to put simple layout descriptions down for Danielle in comparison to other jobs where he's had to get much more specific in his notes about the side of the panels the characters are on, the way they turn, etc. 7 Secrets, Issue 6 Recap. The Seekers break into the mountain fortress containing the Order made up of keepers, holders, the cadets, the mysterious traitor, and the fortress guards. The holders stay inside, pushing as far into the back of the fortress with the cadets as their defense, while the keepers lead an assault the moment the fortress doors are breached by the Seekers' tanks, though the holders quickly disobey Tajana's orders to join the fray. Gareth is the first to fall, then Kanto's hand holding the first secret is lobbed off by the Seeker Verity. Falling back, Radha, keeper of the third secret, opens their briefcase, opening a magical portal. Casper, sensing the destination is familiar to them. The keepers and holders and allies go through the portal except for Tajana, whom buys them time by taking on the secret army by herself. Verity opens the first secret case, just like at the beginning of issue 1, obliterating everybody in a white flash of explosion. Everybody else ends up on a path of light surrounded by a mysterious space. Casper disobeys orders to stay on the path, walking into the darkness towards 2 lights shining as though just for him. Phaolin and Eva go in search of recovering Casper and the 7th secret he carries. Casper discovers the 2 lights are indeed Fae-like beings who know him by name and try to take his case. Casper runs off and the Fae-like beings observe him, remarking on how strange it is to watch him bouncing on his legs, remarking that he's forgotten to fly. And so ends the first volume of 7 Secrets. General discussion. I think overall there's a lot of cathartic emotional moments, and you can see Taylor's emphasis on characterization being the foremost driver of things. I also loved all of the artwork and the use of color in these issues. Probably not the most satisfying point to end the first volume, but having read more, there are some twists, including the reveal of the potential traitor, that are just jaw-dropping. If you liked Seven Secrets, you'll love Seven Secrets Volume 2 and 3, obviously. Seven Secrets ran for a total of 18 issues, which ran from 2020 through 2022, most of it during the COVID lockdowns, with Tom in Melbourne, which had more lockdowns than most other places in Australia. Otherwise, if you liked the writing, pre-order DCeased Detective Comics by Tom Taylor, Volume 1. If you liked the art, check out DC's Speed Force for more work by Di Nicuolo. And if you liked the quality of how all the colors are so rich and vibrant and pop off the page, check out more comics by the publisher Boom. I'd especially recommend Kieran Gillen's Once and Future, which is a twisted modern take on Arthurian legend, with a grandson who's concerned about his disappeared frail grandmother, discovering she's actually a sword-wielding badass who's holding evil supernatural forces at bay. What books has Joshy been reading besides the Comic Club books over the break? I finished the Storm Dawn of a Goddess book by Tiffany Jackson, retelling Aurora's early years from her pre-powered days as a thief on the streets of Cairo to embracing her powers in Kenya. I've also started Laura Catherine's Enemies to Booksellers. It's my nighttime reading, a chapter in bed most nights, and I'm roughly 40% of the way through. We'll be covering 2 books with Aussie-born talent tonight. There'll be Melbourne-based Tom Taylor's Seven Secrets, published by Boom Comics, but first and most importantly, tonight I'm handing over my first ever Comic Club co-host, Jade, who will be covering Tunnus to Sydney by Miriam and Christian Carnouche, published by Fair Square Graphics. Edo Community Comic Book Club for February 2025. What comics has Joshy been reading besides the Comic Club books? I've binged more than 50 issues of the current run of Catwoman. It was an impulse whilst perusing DC Infinite, and it had the lucky side effect of running through a bunch of the helpful issues that Laughing Seal had highlighted in his diagram as providing useful context for the Poison Ivy comics by G. Willow Wilson that we'll be covering later this year. I've also been reading Boom's Vicarious. Basically, people put on a VR headset, except it's a full sensory experience, and can then hire real bodies that they've got a chip in their head, and the headset wearing people can ask those people with chips in their head to do anything and share those experiences. It could be anything from consuming food with 0 calorie regrets to fornication, and through to jumping between the rooftops of 2 buildings. Anything is negotiable for a price. It's set in a world where chipped people are viewed as lesser by the majority of society and can even be arrested for it. There's the question of what place do people have to be in to agree to be chipped for this kind of work, and what are the different types of lives those chipped people can lead when they're not on the clock. Some are influencers who can rarely clock out, and others then always jacked in, whereas others are recluses outside of paid hours. The industry operates a lot like the gig work of Uber or Twitch streamers, but with the social taboo of sex work. I read Bestie, Volume 1 by Kenneth Larson, a series of semi-autobiographical comic strips about the delightfully messed up world of friendship between a gay guy and his female bestie. The series has started being independently published, and there are plans to be at least 6 volumes. Phoenix, basically the 2024 comic, is basically Jean Grey in space. There's some interesting characters that pop, like Cyclops' dad Corsair and Gore the God Butcher, that pop up, but there's something lifeless to the stories. There's not enough character drive, growth, or exploration in the main protagonist. They're kind of just there existing out in space. I started reading Image's Self-Help. Down in his luck, rideshare driver Jerry's existence is a bleak one, especially because every fare he picks up tells him how much he looks like a uber successful self-help guru. One day his doppelganger jumps in the back of his rideshare, an accident happens, and Jerry is now part of a pulpy crime story and has the opportunity to take over the rich guru's life. It's not all silver linings for Jerry, though, as he quickly realizes his doppelganger's wealth comes with a lot of strings attached to a dark underbelly. And I've also read Red Hood and the Outlaws, where Jason locks the Penguin in Penguin's Panic Room, and Jason Todd, aka the Red Hood, takes over the iconic Gotham location, the Iceberg Lounge, dismantling the scummier parts of the Penguin's legacy in the process, and the Penguin watches his entire empire operating without him through the one-way bulletproof glass of a fish tank. And I've also read X-Men Heir of Apocalypse, and I'm very excited knowing who the heir is now to see what adventures will happen next with Apocalypse's heir.